So I can't believe that I'm saying this, but basically, I'm going back to the country where I was born. I was born in the Philippines, and then I left there when I was 1 year old, and we moved to Texas. And that was in the 1980s. And let me tell you, we all know what it was like, especially for the economy in the 1980s. And now it's 2024, and it is a lot different than it was in 1980s. So, that being said, there's a lot of reasons why we want to move to the Philippines. It feels right, and it's just a different experience, and we want change. We want something new. And my husband and I, we were planning to move to the Philippines in 2020. And you know what happened in 2020, right, y'all? So, what happened in 2020 is that I ended up having my daughter. So, and that was, I was like, okay, okay, God, um, we're not moving to the Philippines yet, but I get it. So, I raised my daughter. Okay, I'm in the car and the wind just blew right when I said that. So, thank you. But 2020 and having my daughter around those 2 years were rough, and especially having my daughter on COVID year, that was rough too. And so within those years, we were still planning to move to the Philippines, and my husband and I, we were talking about it. I was like, I know this is happening right now, but we would still like to go to the Philippines. And I think God is telling us, don't go to the Philippines now. Can you go later? Because let me tell you, telling my parents was not easy. I'm not that type of person that is really good with confrontations. My husband is. He's really good at it. So basically, my husband and I, we told my parents, okay, we understand we're not going to move to the Philippines. Our daughter is just like 1, 2 years old. This is not the right time to move to the Philippines. So we're going to push it back. And we pushed it back to the year 2024. And I remember I had a conversation on the phone, and I was telling my mom, okay, listen, we are not going to the Philippines now. But mom, I think I remember I said 2, 3 years later, we're going to move to the Philippines, okay? I understand your reasons why we shouldn't go now, but we still want to pursue it. So we're going to go do it a couple years later. And now it's 2024. And let me tell you, it feels quick. Like, I didn't realize that 2024 was going to come by so fast. My daughter is going to be 4 this year, and the time just went by so fast. And I'm very thankful about how things went. I understand that we couldn't go to the Philippines then, but I understand that it feels right to go now. Because it just feels right. Everything is falling into place. And I feel like when things are falling into place, that's when it's part of God's destiny. That is when it's part of God's plan. So I went to the Philippines. I went to the Philippines when I used to live in Thailand. I was a Peace Corps volunteer. I was teaching Thailand for 2 years. And when I was there, I visited my family in the Philippines. And I was just there for like a week or so. So I have an idea of what it's like in the Philippines, in a way. Because when I went to the Philippines, I just basically visited my family, just stayed at their house, but I didn't really get to travel because I was with my family. But when I was in Thailand by myself, I traveled everywhere. But being with family, they wanted me to stay with them, so be it, right? So my husband, on the other hand, has not been to the Philippines. So he hasn't been to the Philippines yet, but he knows that he's going to enjoy living in the Philippines because, I think that's a risk. Well, for me and my husband, that we're taking this risk to move to the Philippines. We're going to move to the Philippines this summer, in a few months. Can you believe it? In a few months. So the fact that my husband hasn't been to the Philippines, I haven't persuaded him not let's not move to the Philippines. I didn't persuade him that, because I know what it's like in the Philippines. You know, it is, of course, the weather is something to experience. But you know, here being in Texas can get real hot. And so in the Philippines, it's kind of like the same thing, but there also cultural factors too. So I didn't persuade him not to go to the Philippines, because I felt that even though it was a different type of living, the living in the Philippines is so much different in America. I think it's a slower pace of life, because when I was living in Thailand, I remember the pace. It was slow, but it was a good kind of slow, because people took their time. I noticed that people took their time, and it wasn't just a fast pace. You know, I was living in the village in Roy Et in Thailand, and so being in the Philippines, I think that will be, I would say, a better experience than where we are right now. You know, and I'm saying it regards to the economy, the lifestyle, and we just want change. And so we have a 4-year-old daughter. She's going to be 4. And when it comes to my daughter, to be honest with you, I would rather have my daughter go to school in the Philippines than in America, because there's a lot of stuff going on in public schools. You know, when I was an elementary school teacher, I was an elementary school teacher for 10 years, and there was a lot going on. And we all know about the school shootings in America. It's a lot. And there's a lot of stuff going on in public schools in America. But in the Philippines, when you're in a different country, the children are different. The culture is different. And I would rather have my daughter go to school in the Philippines rather than in America. Because currently, right now, I am homeschooling her. And I am actually the first person in the whole family to be a homeschool teacher. You know, thankfully I have experience being an elementary school teacher, and so I'm like, hey, I can be a homeschool mom too. And so it's not easy, but it's a great experience for me and my daughter to be together. So, but when we are in the Philippines, it's gonna be overwhelming. But I think it's something in my heart that we have been praying for. It's just a different life there. And I think I know in my heart that this is part of God's plan, and we are going to be happy there. We are currently happy in our situation, but I feel like God doesn't put us in a place for a long time, because my husband and I, we had bought a house recently, and I remember he was saying, Gyann, don't be comfortable. We're going to live in a different house later, so don't be comfortable with this house. And when he said that, I was like, huh. But the thing is, I realized, like with my work, I didn't stay at my work for a long time. I think the longest I stayed as a public school teacher was 5 years. And so, oh, there's somebody behind me. But I feel like God is moving us places, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, because we love to travel, and I think that's what God is listening. He's like, you know, me and Gilbert love to travel, and being able to live in the Philippines will allow us to travel the Philippines and to be able to travel the other side of the world. So, you know, really excited. In a few months we're gonna pack up, and we have our balikbayan boxes. My husband has already packed up. I haven't packed up. I'm kind of like a procrastinator, but I will get it done. So, but yeah, we're gonna be moving in the Philippines, and it's gonna be amazing. I can like already envision what it would be like, because I think that's what it is. When it comes to having a new experience, you have to have a good positive mindset, regardless of what happens. Because I think my relationship with God, my relationship with my family, we have always tried to have a positive mindset in life. And so when it comes to this new chapter, moving to the Philippines, we are excited and we are ready to go.